Close your eyes for a moment. There is an aircraft carrier somewhere in the Indian Ocean. The deck is deafening. The air smells of fuel and salt and heat. And somewhere above all of it, a pilot in an F-14 Tomcat is doing something that no one else in his squadron would have dared attempt. On May 16, 1986, Top Gun arrived in cinemas, and an audience living through the Cold War found in 109 minutes of fighter jets, sunset cinematography, and a soundtrack that has never stopped playing, exactly what it had been looking for. It became the highest-grossing film of 1986. It launched careers, it changed the Navy. It created a cultural moment that lasted decades. But behind that sun-drenched surface, the story of how Top Gun actually got made is more complicated, more accidental, and far more costly than anything you see on screen. Today we are going all the way back to 1986 for 10 untold secrets and hidden facts about Top Gun. Before we start, hit like and subscribe to Before TV and Cinema for more deep dives into the films that shaped the world we grew up in. Let's go. Number 1. The role that 9 major stars turned down. Before we talk about Tom Cruise, let's talk about everyone who said no. Patrick Swayze turned down Maverick to make Dirty Dancing. Matthew Modine turned it down to make Full Metal Jacket with Stanley Kubrick. Sean Penn passed, Nicolas Cage passed, John Cusack passed, Matthew Broderick passed, Michael J. Fox passed, Emilio Estevez passed, Tom Hanks passed. 9 major names, 9 no's. And then, here's the part most people don't know. Tom Cruise himself initially declined. He had concerns about the film's political tone. He wasn't sure it was right for him. The person who changed his mind was Ridley Scott, Tony's older brother, who told Cruise that Tony would make something worth being part of. So Cruise agreed to a trial. The Navy took him up in a real F-14 Tomcat. He came back from that flight visibly shaken and immediately said yes. Swayze got Dirty Dancing, Modine got Full Metal Jacket, Cruise got everything else. Number 2. The magazine article that started it all. Here is the true origin of Top Gun. Not a studio executive, not a pitch meeting, not a calculation about what audiences wanted. A single magazine article published in California Magazine in May 1983, written by journalist Ehud Yonai, titled simply Top Guns. It followed the day-to-day lives of fighter pilots at Naval Air Station Miramar in San Diego, the real facility, the real people, the real culture of an elite military flying school. Producers Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer read it. They optioned the rights almost immediately, paying just $15,000 for the story. The call signs in Yonai's article, Yogi, Gringo, Gator, Possum, became the direct template for the film's own memorable call signs. $15,000. One magazine article, that is where the highest-grossing film of 1986 actually began. Number 3. The director who was fired 3 times on his own film. Tony Scott had directed only one previous feature before Top Gun. It had been a commercial disappointment. Paramount was nervous, and that nervousness came out in a way that is almost unbelievable in hindsight. Scott was fired from Top Gun 3 separate times during production. 3 times, his own film. Each time he was reinstated. Each time he returned to the set and continued making the movie he had always intended to make, with the backlighting, the slow motion, the golden sunset cinematography that would define not just this film but an entire decade of American action cinema. The studio that fired its director 3 times ended up with the biggest film of the year. Sometimes the people who keep getting back up are right, and sometimes the people doing the firing are wrong. Number 4. The Navy's $1.8 million deal, those F-14 Tomcats roaring across the screen. That aircraft carrier, those real naval pilots performing real maneuvers at real speed, none of it was free. The United States Navy agreed to cooperate with the production for approximately $1.8 million. In exchange, they reviewed the script and required changes. The opening dogfight was moved from Cuban airspace to international waters. A scene depicting a crash on a carrier deck was removed entirely. The aircraft used were not props or models. They were operational F-14 US from real naval squadrons flown by real naval pilots. The production paid $7,600 per flight hour for every hour those planes were used outside their normal duties. The bill for authenticity was $1.8 million. What the Navy got back, this, as you will hear in a moment, was worth considerably more than that. Number 5. The $25,000 check written on a carrier deck. Scott was filming aboard the USS Enterprise. He needed aircraft taking off and landing backlit by the setting sun, that golden, slightly flared illumination that gives Top Gun its unmistakable visual signature. The carrier's captain changed course for operational reasons. The light changed with it. The shot Scott needed became impossible. Scott asked the captain to change course back. The captain told him that altering the ship's heading would cost $25,000 in fuel and operational expenses. Scott looked at the captain. He reached into his pocket. He wrote a personal check for $25,000 on the deck of the USS Enterprise and handed it to the officer beside him. The carrier changed course, Scott got his shot. That image, the one you have seen 100 times, cost its director $25,000 out of his own pocket. He considered it a reasonable price. Watch the film again and decide if he was right. Pause here for just a second. I want to hear from you in the comments. What is your single favorite Top Gun moment? The opening carrier sequence, the volleyball scene, danger zone on the deck, or the moment Maverick decides to go back up? Tell me below. And while you are down there, hit that like button and subscribe to Before TV and Cinema. We have so many more of these coming. Now, back to it. Number 6, the volleyball scene that nearly got Scott fired. In the original shooting script, the volleyball scene appears as a single short paragraph. The pilots are playing volleyball, that is all it says. Scott filmed it for an entire day. He approached it like a separate short film, every angle covered, every moment of physical effort captured in deliberate slow motion. The afternoon light used with the same care as his sunset cinematography. The head of production called the editors during the shoot and told them he was going to fire Scott for spending an entire working day on one paragraph of script. He did not fire him. The scene was cut into the film and became one of the most instantly recognizable sequences in the history of 1980s cinema. It has been analyzed, parodied, referenced, and discussed for 40 years. One paragraph, one full day, one decision not to fire the director. Number 7, the test screening nobody could react to. The advanced screening of Top Gun was scheduled for January 29, 1986 in Houston, Texas. The Space Shuttle Challenger had disintegrated during launch that same morning, killing all 7 crew members. The country was in a state of shock and grief that no advanced screening of a fighter pilot action film could have anticipated. Producer Jerry Bruckheimer was in the theater. Nobody reacted. The laughs didn't come. The cheers didn't come. The room felt like a funeral. The audience response cards came back with unexpectedly high scores. Bruckheimer could barely believe them. The film opened in May. It went to number 1 in its first week and stayed there. The worst test screening the producers had ever experienced turned out to be evidence of nothing except the specific, unbearable weight of a terrible morning in American history. Number 8, the pilot who never came home. Art Scholl was 53 years old and one of the most experienced aerial cinematographers in American film. He had worked on dozens of productions. His safety record was impeccable. During filming of second unit aerial footage for Top Gun, Scholl was performing a flat spin maneuver in a Pitts S-2 biplane. A chase plane was recording. His voice came through on the radio. He said calmly that he had a problem, then that he had a real problem. The aircraft continued to descend. It did not recover. It entered the Pacific Ocean near San Diego County. Neither Art Scholl's body nor his aircraft was ever recovered. The cause was never definitively established. At the very end of Top Gun, after the story has concluded, his name appears on screen as a quiet, permanent acknowledgement that the adventure you just watched had a real cost, one that the screen cannot fully account for. Number 9, how Top Gun made Navy recruitment jump 500%. United States Navy recruitment increased by approximately 500% in the months following Top Gun's release. 500%. Recruitment officers reported that young men were arriving at their offices with the same explanation over and over. They had seen the film. They wanted to fly F-14S. They wanted to be Maverick. The Navy placed recruitment tables in the lobbies of cinemas showing the film, staffed, ready to take names from people who had just walked out still feeling the adrenaline of the final dogfight. The $1.8 million the Navy spent cooperating with the production turned out to be one of the most effective recruitment investments in the organization's modern history. Top Gun didn't persuade young people to join the Navy with facts or arguments. It moved them. It made them feel something. And then it gave them somewhere to go with that feeling. That is what the very best filmmaking does. It just rarely does it quite so literally. Number 10, the sequel that was written, abandoned, and eventually made history. The commercial success of Top Gun in 1986 prompted Paramount to pursue a sequel almost immediately. A script was developed, Maverick as an instructor at the Top Gun school, working with a headstrong young female pilot who reminded him uncomfortably of his younger self. The script was written. The sequel was ready to proceed. It was abandoned. The cost of producing aerial sequences with the kind of authenticity the original had established was considered too high. The technology wasn't there. The budget numbers didn't work. Top Gun. Maverick was released in 2022, 36 years after the original. It became the highest-grossing film of Tom Cruise's entire career, earning over $1.5 billion worldwide. It won widespread critical acclaim. It gave Val Kilmer, whose health had made speech difficult, one of the most moving scenes of the year. The sequel that was abandoned because of budget concerns became the film that broke records the original had never approached. The Need for Speed, as it turned out, was very patient. And that is our countdown. 10 untold secrets and hidden facts about Top Gun. A film built on 9 rejections and 1 flight in an F-14. A director fired 3 times on his own set. a personal check written on a carrier deck, a test screening held in silence the morning after a national tragedy, and a pilot who went up and never came down, whose name sits at the end of a film that the world has watched hundreds of millions of times. Which of these facts surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and the conversations are always the best part. Hit like if this one meant something to you. Subscribe to Before TV and Cinema for more deep dives into the films that became part of who we are, and share this with someone who still feels something when they hear those opening engines. Until next time, Before TV and Cinema.